Man, I love Twitter. You know what? I want to have a picture of every single person at the Twitter's Trust and Safety Council being hanged above my bedroom wall so that every night that I go to sleep, I can pray to them and be like, thank you for keeping us safe. Without you, society would actually have liberty, freedom, and free speech. But thanks to you, you make it possible so that people are being set on the right path. I mean, if you're wondering just how low can Twitter go, you know, there's this very controversial event with Kyle, which the New York Times made an article saying that it was self-defense. Well, apparently Twitter disagrees. And if Twitter disagrees, you have to disagree as well, otherwise you get banned. And they have managed to suspend the account of the lawyer defending the guy. I mean, that is just, wow. You know, Stalin himself from the heavens is having a tear dropping over his cheek as they look at the trust and safety of Twitter. Because even Stalin didn't persecute lawyers. Like, in any country, no matter how authoritarian it is, usually lawyers are allowed to defend their clients, you know? But not on Twitter. No, 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 no. No, but seriously, like, man, I would love to work at Twitter's Trust and Safety Council. Like, do you understand the power that you would have over the peasantry? Like, I would have an erection every single time I click, and I'd be like, ban, ban, ban. It's like, oh, it's so intoxicating. Like, I can understand why someone wants to be a left-leaning person. I mean, you have the power to destroy people. Like, I want to be at Twitter's Trust and Safety. How do I sign in? You know, like, I think I'm fit for the job. I'm a little bit wacky every now and then. And not only that, like, you can probably make something that no one gives a shit about. All of a sudden, you get it to be trending. Can you understand, like, what you can do? Like, how you can mess with people's minds like that? Oh my god. And you can also get something that's very popular and it's trending, and you can make it appear as if no one cares. Like, imagine, you know, how frustrated those people might be while you're laughing there in a chair going like, ha 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 ha. And all of them, you know, they have legitimate grievances and they make a problem trending and it doesn't appear anywhere. And they're like, ah! Man, like, I want to be like that. I think I have the morality and the capacity to be one of those at the Trust and Safety Council, you know, just look at other people like numbers and just don't give a single fuck about them. And you know that at the end of the day, you're the one that has the final say. You can destroy people. Like, oh my god, I want to be in that position, you know? It's made for me, honestly. Like, the chair is just made for me. I just have to take it. Do I need to go like a gender studies, or like, how do you get into these positions? You probably need to be a minority, don't you? Ah, god damn it, I'm not one. But you know what I'll do? I will marry a minority, and then the child is going to have the correct genes, so that when he goes to Twitter and wants to work in this position, they'll 23andMe him and be like, okay, you pass. That's what I want to do. My god. But in the meantime, I'm spending a lot of time on Twitter talking with communists. Yes, they are there. You know, people that are part of genocidal ideologies are welcome on Twitter, unless, as long as they're part of the correct ones. Okay, so if you're a jihadi, if you're a communist, you know, like any type of fringe thing, I guess like the only thing they don't like is flat earthers. Maybe people that delve a little bit too deep into Christianity, like the West Battle Baptist Church, I guess they don't get to have Twitter accounts. But like, other than that, like, look, if you're an unhinged person, either convert to some radical form of Islam or become a communist, then Twitter will have you. Alright, like, that's fine. They even give you a check mark if you're really screwed in the cabeza. But I was talking with communists, and I managed to reach a very interesting dilemma. Do not contact these people, obviously. It goes without saying. And this is an intellectual debate. Like, ignore the people in question, even though this one actually has a cute avatar. I like the avatar. Don't get me wrong. The avatar is interesting. And the conversation was about, again, like, the idea of defending one's property, which I understand for a communist, it is a great sin. Like, how dare you defend something that is yours? Oh, Dios mío. You know, like, first of all, the cops are evil because they're the ones that defend the property. And then the people themselves are evil, like, for defending property. It's like, why are you so reactionary, bigot? Just let your house burn. And then I'm being told, it's like, no. See, like, the house is fine because there is a distinction between private and personal property. Even though According to American law, there is no such distinction. And even though to a communist mentality, if I happen to have two houses, they're personal property, but if I rent one, then it becomes private property. In other words, everything that they want gets to become private property, right? I guess like if I have two toothbrushes and I rent one to someone else, well, it's his toothbrush now, because... anyway, right. And during this conversation, I said something that offends communists a lot. I talked about principles. Like, principles is something like as an anathema to them. They go like, principles, you know? Like, it's like, that's not how they function. That's not how they compute. It's like, no, like, their idea is the goal. And that is the goal. The goal is progressive. Everything else is reactionary, right? One principle. So they asked me, because I'm defending businesses all of a sudden. It's very... reactionary to defend businesses nowadays. You know, it's not trendy. It's not hip. It's not with the cool kids on TikTok to defend businesses. Yes, the Neko boys on TikTok, they all are very anti-business people. So they tell me, it's like, well, are you a business person? And I'm like, yeah, I own a business. You know, I own this YouTube channel. And they're like, no. You see, YouTube owns your channel. And it's like, you know, I wish that the Romanian government would see things your way. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is the only part of communism that I like. It's like, I wish the Romanian government would view that I don't have a business, so I don't have to hire an accountant, so that I don't have to pay so much taxes. Like, that would be great. That would be excellent if I wouldn't have a business. Unfortunately, the Romanian government disagrees. And I do actually own the IP to this, alright? You guys can stream my videos if you want. You can upload them, but if you're a communist, I will give you a copyright strike. I don't want communists to make money out of capitalist endeavors. Like, how can they sleep at night if they know that, you know? I would feel like making money from capitalism. No, absolutely not. I'm a capitalist. I get to make money out of capitalism. But if you're a communist and you want to just upload my own video in its entirety without any transformative content, horrible. That's a violation of the intellectual property. But anyway, right, so moving on. I explained to them, it's like, yes, YouTube owns my channel, right? Like, at any point, they can Thanos me out of existence. But I tell you what, if I were to see a bunch of communists attacking YouTube's headquarters, if I could, like if it happens in my proximity, I would defend that YouTube headquarters. And if I can't defend it, which is probably the most likely thing, I would donate money to any type of organization that decides to put themselves between the sanctity of the private property of the people at YouTube and the communist fanatics. I would give money to them. I don't care. I don't care who they are. I legit, like, I'm a one issue thing. You know, one issue. That's my issue. Preventing communists from destroying private property. And apparently this is a funny take. You know, it's a funny take. It's like, defend YouTube HQ with our lives. It's like, man, you're the guys that want to attack YouTube HQ, risking your lives for doing it. Just leave it the fuck alone. You know, like, if it's not yours, leave it alone. Is it too much to ask? Why would you risk your lives? I keep hearing communists saying this. It's like, property isn't as important as a human life. Perfect. I agree. Why are you encouraging people to risk their lives attacking YouTube HQ? What the fuck is wrong with you? You know? And then they go, it's like, even though most of my complaints are that YouTube and other sites are censoring people. Yes, absolutely. I don't see how these two things are contradictory to each other. Just because I have complaints towards how YouTube runs its business, and I think that it could be improved, there is a legal way of doing it. Like, there are legal ways of airing your grievances. Doing violence and trying to burn down their HQ is not going to solve anything. And given the track record that communists have towards respecting human rights, I don't think that if YouTube was to be taken over by people like you, it's going to improve. And as a matter of fact, I think people like you is what causes YouTube to be the problem that it is today. Though, arguably, YouTube and companies like it would censor just because they make more money. I mean, again, like the idea that you can create a product to appear popular, there are people that are willing to pay for this, you know. So if you tinker with the algorithm and you get this to happen, you're going to make more money and gain more power and influence. But like, here's the thing, right? Like, all of them are pushing this bullshit from their asshole because they don't understand the economy and they don't understand capitalism at all, but they're very good at criticizing it. The idea that, you know, big businesses have insurance. Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay, first of all, in the case of riots, they don't. But secondly, let's assume that a business is insured. Alright, let's assume that you're destroying something that's insured. All the people there, you moron, the working class, which you seem to care about, there's probably like a YouTube moderator listening to this. And listen, YouTube moderator, I'm talking to you right now, alright? I'm talking to you. I care about you. I care about you because if the HQ burns down, you lose your job. You lose your job. And you know what's going to happen? Chances are that if a geographical area is becoming untenable because there's just too many uprisings, there are too many communists there, do you know what YouTube is going to do? They're going to move their headquarters somewhere else. They can move it over to China, they can move it over to Eastern Europe, in places where people actually have human rights and they have the right to operate a business without communist thugs trying to tear it down. And then you're going to be out of a job. Do you think the communists are going to compensate you for your loss? Do you think they're going to give a shit? Like, I remember the time where they burned down a limo because, oh my god, the rich people have limos. And it was actually the limo of an immigrant, which made his livelihood by offering his services to drop people with a limo. So basically, weddings, important parties or things like that. They didn't even start a GoFundMe in order to give money back to that person. They actually justified, no, like that person is a capitalist, even though he's an immigrant, he has to go. So, I absolutely 100% would defend YouTube's HQ, even if they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, because principles, that's why. Because I don't think that communists should be running around destroying property and doing violence and normalizing this shit. So if it happened in my country, I don't care, even a bank. Like, think about the worst organization that you can possibly think of. I would defend that. I would defend that because there are normal ways, legal ways in order to address issues that corporations are doing. And then this is not a civilized way to do it. I'm sorry. I fully support people defending private property. And there is no private and personal. It's private property. They're interlinked anyway. It's like, how can you pay the rent for your house? And by the rent, I don't necessarily mean like the English way of rent, like the landlord. How can you pay the utilities in your house, like electricity, water, heating, food? How can you pay all of these things if you don't go to work and have a job? And in their perfect society, you'd have to go back to the communist revolutionaries like, please let me work. Please let me have a job. Please don't use nepotism in order to put your friends first in line. Please don't be corrupt and, use all of the shady things that you can do once you have all of this power that even kings from medieval Europe didn't have. The opinion that you control every single person. Medieval kings had absolutism. They also controlled everything, but they didn't have access to technology. So it was a little bit more difficult. Nowadays, people have access to Twitter and whatnot, so it's a lot easier to control people. It's like, oh, let's see. Back in 2008, you used the N-word. Fired. And then you have someone else, like Nancy Pelosi going around without a mask in a hair salon, and no one is complaining about that because it's Nancy Pelosi. It's the same with Destiny. As long as he tiptoes the line, no one brings up the fact that, oh, look, he tried to defend the N-word. Oh, look, they're doing this now. Now it's offense archaeology. Like, they call the offense necromancers to go through Destiny's stuff in order to uproot the evil. Why weren't you uprooting the evil 2 months ago when he was saying this stuff? And these are the moral bastion of people that we should trust, that once they destroy all of the businesses and they gain power, they're going to be fair about redistributing the wealth. Yes, all of a sudden they're going to grow a conscience, and all of a sudden they're going to be really fair about how they're doing it. Look at this one, like Ghost of Ceausescu looking down in great disappointment and bewilderment. Good. Okay, Ceausescu was a communist tyrant that ruled my country with an iron fist. I hope that every single day, he's not going to look down, by the way, he's going to look up. He's going to have more heating in hell than the heating he gave to the people, which were freezing to death at minus 20 degrees in the winter. He's going to be looking up, and I hope that he's going to have great disappointment about me. Like, every single moment of my life, I hope that the Ceausescu ghost is disappointed about me. Because here's the thing, and this is another big wake-up call for all of you communists up there, okay? Ceausescu, if I were to have his ideology spouted on my channel, I would get banned from YouTube because you would consider the guy far right. Like, let's look at a couple of the things that he did. He banned abortions, he criminalized homosexuality. I'm not talking about gay marriage. Like, if you are found out of doing promiscuous activities, you would go to prison, right? Shall I keep going on? And yet, because he's a communist, all of those things are fine. It's the same with Che Guevara and other numbskulls that all these communists have in their room that no one even knows about. You go to normal people and you talk about Che, they don't even know who the fuck that is. It's like, oh yeah, Is that guy that edgy teenagers have out of there, you know, LARPing as revolutionaries. Yeah, that's what Che Guevara is. That's what normal people think about it, you know. But like, you know, when you look at him, like what he did, was he an LGBT ally? Huh? Can you paint him as that? Was he, you know, a bastion of human rights? But no, like he's a communist, so you're willing to forgive and forget, right? Meanwhile, they look at Churchill and it's like, oh my God, no, Churchill was a racist. Oh, well, we can't have Churchill. No, Che Guevara is excellent. Che Guevara is like Jesus Christ for these people. They even wear shirts with him. Honestly, the biggest irony is to see a gay person wearing a Che Guevara t-shirt. You know, that's what I think Che Guevara is looking down with disappointment. Probably having an aneurysm in the afterlife seeing that. Every single socialist country, actually, except for Eastern Germany, persecuted gay people. Isn't that fascinating? And yet, it's like, no, if you're LGBT, you need to be socialist. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.